What's up guys, it's Eli with Night Jiu-Jitsu, and I've got a video today that I've had a lot of requests for. Even though I've mentioned this a lot in other videos, I've never really made one fully dedicated to the no-gi baseball bat choke. The baseball bat choke, of course, being a gi style choke typically, where you go in thumb in one side of the collar, fingers in the other side, and whenever you execute the choke by crossing your arms, you look like you're swinging a baseball bat. So the no-gi version, then obviously I don't have material to grab onto. That's illegal in grappling competition, obviously, and it's also not going to hold up a lot of the time for this kind of choke. So we have different kinds of grips that we can use to execute this choke. A lot of people will say that they can use a gable grip on this one. I find that pretty hard to get my wrists turned and my elbows together with a gable grip, but if you can do it, do it. You can use a preacher style grip. That's different than a gable because you're incorporating the thumbs. That gives you a little bit more wrist flexibility, still not enough from my feeling about it. There's a modified grip called a 3-finger grip, a lot of times where this features the thumb going between the index and middle fingers like this. This gives you even better wrist flexibility a lot of the time, and this can actually pull off the baseball bat choke on either side a lot of the time, so that is a good grip sometimes to use. But again, personally, I like the wrist flexion that the S grip allows me the best, so I take my two hands here and it allows me to make that little opening like that. That's what gives me the best results with this one personally, so that's how I teach it. Essentially, I'm going parallel, so one palm down, one palm up like this. The way that I need to connect my hands here, that will vary depending on the size of my arms, my flexibility, his size of his neck, etc. Personally, I like to use the S grip. The S grip being where we interlace the fingers like this, all 4 fingers wrapped into each other, making an S style configuration like that. The next thing I'm gonna look to do is I'm gonna bring this elbow that's palm up inward like this, and this one here is gonna try to connect to it. So essentially, again, it's like I'm swinging a baseball bat. When we get here this way, and I bring those two together, this wrist is going to have to rotate a bit, and then I bring these elbows together here like this in front of his neck here. I usually hide my head in that little pocket, squeeze, and then I'll get the tap off of that a lot of the time, or the guy will pass out. The reason you see so many people pass out on this choke a lot of the time is because it happens in transitional periods where the guy's upgrading his position on me, and I'm hitting the baseball bat choke while he's improving position. So his tendency is going to be to stay on that course as long as he's improving his position, he's passing the guard, he's getting to side control, he's getting to mount, even maybe looking to go to the back. And in that process, this is tightening the whole time because of the way it works. And I'll show you some setups to illustrate that point. One of the first places that I learned this choke from was actually from the mount. And again, I learned this in the gi first and then started to translate it a little bit and then saw what other people such as like Eric Schaefer and Majid Hage and guys like that were doing with the no-gi version of it, and it's really interesting. So again, on this one here, what I'm looking to do is I'm starting with one arm underneath his neck, so like a typical mount ride like this. And then I'm gonna look to connect these two hands together, and I wanna pull the connection to this side of his neck here this way. Right? The next thing I need to do though is I need to get my elbow to the other elbow. So that's going to be difficult as long as I stay on the mount position. So I'm going to have to dismount to actually get this. The way I want to look to do that is I'm going to pummel my leg off into a modified knee on belly or a knee ride type position. And then from this knee ride type position, whether I started here or whether I started to dismount from here, I'm going to take this knee and I'm going to slide it up diagonally over his shoulder. The reason I'm going to do that is because Ed, once he realizes this is a choke setting in, he's going to start bringing his hands up to start trying to defend. This knee is going to help to cut away one of the primary defenses. So whenever I get into this position, I've got my S grip set up. I'm going to start from here, pin my hands to the floor. I'm going to cut my knee over and across his bicep like this. The next movement here is I'm going to start to turn and face him, and then that's when my wrists rotate, the elbows come together. I'm going to put my head on the far side shoulder so it helps to prevent him from bringing that frame inside like this, and then I'm going to connect my two elbows and then hopefully get the finish right from there. So sometimes if you have the material of a gi, you can pivot all the way around to your more north-south. It's not necessary whenever you have the tightness of the no-gi version. Now, what's the benefit of this? With the gi, it's obviously better because you have a literal weapon that you're strangling the guy with material. This is a little harder, but it's also a little bit stronger in some ways because there's no slippage. I can't really slip and slide out of this or I'm going to lose the connection completely. So there are pros and cons to both sides. So again, from this knee ride position, this is a good setup because a lot of the time, like if I start to cross my hands or go straight to his neck or anything like that, then he's going to be a little suspicious about it. But he's generally not if I go parallel arms like this. This does not feel like anything right away. So once I start to connect and I start lifting his head up like this, I'm kind of neck cranking a little bit here like this. But again, it's so that I can start sliding that leg off and then start wrapping in and finishing the choke from there. Now, what will happen sometimes, because when I do connect my two hands here like this and I've got my knee, I don't have anything to base out with over on that side. So a lot of the time the guy will see how the structure is triangulated like this over his shoulders. I've got knee, I've got hands behind his neck, and I've got leg here. Nothing over here, so he'll try to roll me this way a lot of the time. Now, when he tries to roll me, when we get to this point, I don't have to let go of this, because even if he rolls me over and I land on bottom this way, I'm still in position to finish this choke. So I'm going to continue to turn away from him. This is another thing that feels weird, because I am turning my back essentially to Ed. He's got side control, and I'm allowing him to stay in this good position. So as I bring my hands together, though, here like this, is still going to get the tap, unless he retrogrades his position. He tries to back up, retreat out of it, start framing and pushing against me. But even by then, it's too late if he hasn't already established frame. So a lot of the time what will happen is once you start to accept that the pass is happening, so I've gone through all my pass prevention, guard retention elements, now I'm really trying to stop the guy, and I know that he's going to get a good shot at passing the guard. A Hail Mary that I can throw up is this baseball bat choke, and I consider it a Hail Mary because I'm not doing fundamental things a lot of the time to replace my position, frame, guard, do all these. Instead, I'm just like, okay, he's going to pass, so I'm going to try this choke, last ditch effort. So whenever that's happening, Ed clears and he gets his legs past. I know that it's inevitable, he's coming around, so I'm going to frame with this arm here like this. Now typically you want to cross-side frame because it's a little bit stronger, but if I go frame like this here and I start to turn away from him, he feels like, oh, he's doing really well, because now he's not only getting me flatter, he's also getting back exposure, he's past my guard, he's on a really good trajectory. Once I throw this arm up here and I start to connect here like this, he's less likely inclined to start backing his position up, because he's done so much good work right here. He's probably even going to try to start going to the mount, and as he does, he actually tightens the choke for me, because the more I actually rotate away, the more I'm able to cross my two arms, and then that's going to make the choke even tighter. So that's, again, why a lot of people will pass out on this. I've passed out on this choke several times for that exact reason, and I've put a lot of people to sleep on this choke too myself for that exact reason. It's really hard once you're doing a lot of really good things to say, oh, I'm getting stuck in a choke from this bad position, and then back up out of it. So one place I like this one a whole lot, and this is a modification on this this no-gi baseball bat choke, let's turn this way just a little bit, is whenever I'm going for a Darce choke. So when I'm going for a Darce choke, again, the Darce enters in by the armpit, comes out by the neck, so it's the kind of the opposite configuration of an anaconda choke. So I'm going here, and what I want is to get this fully connected and finish the Darce. Something like that right there. Now, what is he going to do? He knows that if I collect his neck and his shoulder together, that tight, I keep his head tucked and I connect my arms behind him, I'm going to finish that Darce choke. So he has to reverse engineer that. He has to keep his elbow pressed open, he has to keep his head pushed back, and he has to start framing and keeping my hips away from him. So all those things, knowing that, this is another good way that we can use it. So if I get here and I'm trying to reach and he's really keeping his head pushed back far away from me, if I can at least get my S-grip configuration like this, then I can drop this elbow inside the pocket, because what he's done essentially by keeping this space open so he doesn't get choked with his own shoulder is he gives me space to drop my forearm in right there. So the benefit that gives me now is, like, because he's making that space, is I'm going to lift my top side arm and drop my elbow in, my elbows connect together, and then I get that choke right there, and it's a nasty version because he's really stretched his neck out. A stretched out neck is a much easier neck to choke, and that's exactly what he's doing to get me that right there. Guys, if you're getting good information from my videos, consider subscribing to my channel. So like, follow, share, do all the things, turn on notifications. I really appreciate you guys watching. Let's get back to some technique. There is some use of this choke from standing, like I said a while ago. Again, with the gi, there's a lot of times if we're playing, and I'll do another gi video about it, so I'm looking for collar, cross-side collar, parallel grips, or whatever. But even with this one, if I go off of like a collar tie and bicep tie like this here, sometimes the guy is not really looking. He's thinking if I go to try to get a clinch, he's going to start to frame back, he's going to start posturing, get his hips close to me like this so that I don't snap him down or whatever. But from that position though, as he does that, again, he stretches his neck out for me. So if I get here and I get this S grip instead of a traditional kind of like plum grip or a top of his head or anything else, then I can start connecting here like this. And once I connect, I'm bringing my head to my wrist on this side, here this way. Now, if he wants to frame and start pushing away from me, it's very awkward, very difficult for him to do that, right? Now, if this is, depending on what the rule set is, if this is strictly a submission grappling thing, you can look to make takedowns happen off of this. You can start tripping, sweeping his legs. So if we get here like this, then I can start tripping in, sweeping, like bothering his legs until I can finally drag him to the ground and try to finish this. If I need to transition out of it into a snap or into an underhook or whatever, it's also a good position to transition out of and to. If this is MMA, obviously, this is pretty good because my head is fairly hidden from him delivering really significant strikes. I can still throw knees here like this, and then I can let go at any time to start throwing elbows or whatever. And the whole time that I'm holding him in that modified style clinch, not only is it controlling his head like the Muay Thai clinch would, but it's also kind of a blood restrictive kind of clinch too. So he's getting a little lightheaded, hopefully, whenever I'm holding this kind of position and delivering strikes. So that's another good application for like MMA or other kind of fighting. So those are some uses for the no-gi baseball bat choke, some applications, some grip configuration, some different places you can hit it from. And so I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope you're integrating this into your game. If you're not, you're gonna surprise a lot of people with this no-gi baseball bat choke, just like you surprise a lot of people with the gi baseball bat choke. So anyway, keep on watching for more information. If you have any questions about it, leave me a comment, and keep following me. Check out my Patreon too while you're at it. It's got exclusive content and class footage and seminar footage over there. And follow me on Instagram and all the things. And make sure you follow my sponsor, Roll Bliss. They made me this amazing custom kit here like this. And Anaconda. If you need knee braces, shoulder braces, wrist braces, ankle braces, anything like that, because your joints are messed up like mine are, go to Anaconda. They've got the best stuff. I appreciate you guys. Keep following Night Jiu-Jitsu.